Hello and a very warm welcome to this Al-Attiyah Foundation podcast. My name is Stephen Cole. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Hamad Al Rumhy to our Changing Future of Energy podcast series. As the long-standing Minister of Oil and Gas and then Minister of Energy and Minerals for the Sultanate of Oman, His Excellency has spearheaded the Sultanate's entry into petrochemical and chemical production in the early 2000s. In his ministerial roles, His Excellency was instrumental in securing natural gas feedstock, which fueled Oman's downstream journey in the early 2000s. He also played, I think, a pioneering role in developing Oman's LNG sector, including modernizing and constructing new facilities to strengthen its position on the global market. He also grew Oman's petrochemical industry in the areas of methane-based operations, oil fins, polyolefins, and aromatics. Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Rumhy, welcome to the podcast.
Stephen, thank you very much. And thanks to the Foundation for inviting me into this podcast. As you know, I've been off the job, so to speak, retired almost 2.5 years ago, also nearly 3 years now. And to be honest with you, this is my first outing in talking or reflecting on what I quarter of a century almost. So I'm looking forward to a friendly discussion that we're going to have in the next few minutes.
Well, in that case, it's my honor, if this is your first outing since retirement, to talk through what has been an illustrious career and address some current issues. But to start with, let's look back and can you tell us what you think was the most difficult decision you had to make as a minister? And what did reaching that decision teach you?
Well, on the softer side, I have to give up playing golf often. The job did keep me busy and kept me busy for a long time. When you start these kind of positions, I think most of us, definitely in my case, I thought it's a few years stint, maybe 3-4 years, and then you start to think of what you're going to do next. In my case, that stint lasted nearly 25 years. So a lot of things happened during that time. It was fun to be involved in an industry that I grew up with. I studied the petroleum industry or petroleum engineering, to be precise. And I was looking forward. At the beginning, my responsibility was oil and gas. And then subsequently, in the later years, it was expanded into energy. And finally, they included minerals. So oil and gas was the beginning. And oil and gas was something that I thought I knew before I started. I used to teach at the university here. I was a lecturer at the Sultan Qaboos University, and so it was a good shift from the academia to ministerial responsibility. We are not politicians here I think in the region, but definitely in Oman. Ministerial positions. A little bit like maybe a chief executive of an organization, especially these technical positions. So, yeah, it was building what was already going on. We wanted to bring more investment, to bring more competition in the country in the area of exploration and production. So I think things went well. I have very little regrets on what I did during the 25 years. I think I must have made mistakes, or we all do, but no regrets. Learning from it, yes, and you learn what you messed up today, and you take that lesson tomorrow, and you keep going.
Well,
So,
that's really excellent and philosophical, Your Excellency. I mean, younger people, correct me if I'm wrong, and you'll know from your teaching days, tend on the whole today to have greener attitudes than their parents. How should young Omanis be thinking about their role in the country's energy sector and development going forward?
well, the definition of energy sector is revolving and is evolving, and I think is maturing as well. So, what was energy in the early 2000s, for example, was the conventional oil, gas, power generation using fossil fuel. And then the world is changing now into the definition of what energy ought to be and what it is and what they would like to be. And then there is another element into all this discussion, which is the media and the information that is going on in the world. So our kids now, unlike when I was growing up or when we were growing up, Stephen, uh, is different from what it is today. Today they have opinions that is being influenced by a little girl, for example, from Norway or from Sweden.
That's social media for you, Your Excellency.
Yeah, exactly. And the definition of fossil fuel or the blame on fossil fuel, even in our part of the world, where we depend very much on fossil fuel or oil and gas, people still think this is a dirty industry, and some of them they like us to change. So the evolution of energy is changing, and I think our young people are changing their opinion, and they want to be part of the international community who are demanding actually cleaner energy, cleaner living for their own sake. They tell me that you have few more years, but we have few more decades, hopefully. So we want to secure our future, and they think they are more serious about the future than we are. Those of us who are pensioners now, or as they say, we are living in a sunset uh, of our lives. So I think there is that suspicion that the older generation maybe not careless, but are less concerned about the environmental impact than they are. So I think there is a generation gap in
Yeah.
the mentality of energy management and energy development as a whole.
Yes, I think you're right. There is this huge gap. Do you think, can you remember policies or directions you wish now that Oman had pursued more aggressively in your time as minister?
Yes, there are a lot of lessons learned. Um, I think we could have introduced this clean thinking a bit earlier than what has actually happened. I think we could have prepared ourselves much better. And let me give you an example. When you build a power station, you expect, from financial modeling point of view, or financial or economic impact, that that station would last in excess of 2 decades or 20, 30 years. Yes. Now, to change that into a more environmental friendly station from the older, whatever methodology or whatever fuel you're using, whether it's gas, whether it's coal, whether it's crude oil, whether it's diesel, into a cleaner one is not feasible from investment point of view
But
until the
you certainly can't do it overnight.
exactly, yeah. So that is, in hindsight, one will say, why did we do that? We should have done something uh, more sustainable environmentally and so on. So I think to link these two, the investment, the actually the social requirement as well, the economic requirement, because at that time we had to have that extra megawatts in order to sustain the growth. So on one hand, you tend to say, yes, in hindsight, we could have done solar maybe. We could have started earlier. Solar was available a long time ago. Maybe a
Yeah.
bit, yeah, but we could have built our system with renewable in mind. But renewable was not fashionable at the time. So I think it's difficult to blame ourselves. It's also acceptable to accept that we could have done things better.
I think that's very fair, but I think most generations think they could have done it better looking back, and hindsight is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But looking ahead, how do you see the global energy landscape evolving in the next decade, especially with the drive towards renewables? How will that landscape evolve in the Gulf?
I think it's a challenge, and it's not going to be easy, especially us here in the region, because luckily we have still abundant amount of fossil fuel, both gas based, natural gas, as well as crude oil based. We have plenty of it. So that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation, we want to go clean. And how do you balance the two? I don't think it's philosophical correct to say we will sell our dirty energy to others, let them mess the world whatever they're doing. We will export our fossil fuel and gain the revenue, and we use that revenue to introduce cleaner for ourselves. And I think we need to be careful here to align ourselves and maintain a balance which is acceptable. Because I feel guilty, to be honest with you, I will feel guilty to sell you my dirty laundry and get the money and go and buy a new suit. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because I know you need the dirty laundry and
Yeah.
you will buy it anyway. So I say, okay, Steve, I'll bring it to you, a bag full of it. Give me the money, and then I go to a fancy store to get myself a new stuff. And I think I don't want to be accused of doing that without offering solutions at the same time. So I give you my dirty laundry, and I say, by the way, if you do ABC using this dirty laundry, you will also get a new suit out of it. Now that is what we need to manage as a region, because we're part of this international global village,
Yeah.
and we need to be careful with that.
Well, what you're talking about is striking a balance, isn't it,
Yeah, so
between economic dependence on fossil fuels and the seeming urgency of this energy transition. Is Oman striking that balance well, do you think?
well, I think the answer is no. Um, no one is, but we have to start the dialogue, and we have to maintain that balance, and we have to campaign for that balance, and we have to help to contribute to that balance. It's not just asking for the balance, but we have to contribute to the balance. It's not easy, by the way. It's very academic for me to sit here and come up with theories, but to put it in practice, it's going to be a challenge. But somebody has to start the discussion at least. That's the least we could do. And I think it's happening, by the way. We saw COP meetings in the region. We started in Sharm el Sheikh, and then we moved to Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We went to Azerbaijan last year. This is all within the sphere of our fossil fuel influence, and that's very encouraging that we are interested in this journey of energy transition.
Well, it's certainly Oman is on that journey, and I know Oman has hosted several high-level hydrogen conferences and really important round tables. Do you see green hydrogen or carbon capture as realistic pillars looking ahead of Oman's future energy economy?
Uh, Future of energy based on hydrogen. I hope it happens. I think it's going to be a very challenging journey. There are so many challenges that have not been uh, resolved. But I think we really have no choice but to start that difficult journey of energy transition. I think to compare it with a hydrocarbon as a replacement of hydrocarbon is a mistake, in my opinion. To say that this is something that will evolve in future is probably a way forward. But I think to have that illusion that one day we are going to switch off oil and gas and switch on hydrogen and our problem are solved, both as an economic reliance for as well as an energy replacement, because we are facing two challenges here. We want an alternative energy source as well as an alternative economic replacement or reliance, so to speak. So both these cannot happen by switching off and switching on, in my opinion.
Do you think the energy transition, as we call it, or some would call it the obsession with net zero, is being politicized or overly idealized? You mentioned one young woman, perhaps, who could well be an idealist in the international discourse.
I think there is a bit of that. Unfortunately, today everything is politicized, not just in.
True.
And that's unfortunately is the language that is being spoken all over the world. And most of it, in my opinion, becomes more complicated because we start to look at political variables in that complex equation in finding a solution. Normally, the technical challenges are easy to address because we can leave it to the technicians to find the solution of each variable which is currently unknown in that complex equation. But if you put a political variable, which is happening, you're absolutely right, it's being politicized, then that's the end of the technician's ability to find solutions. Yeah, and that makes the whole thing complicated. But human beings are creative, and I'm still optimistic that a solution will be found, hopefully, and people will be realistic in moving toward this journey of energy transition. The definition of transition in terms of time is also unknown. What is the transition? Is it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? We don't know. And these net zero targets actually is a good indication, or it's an indicative measure of how complicated energy transition is. People have a target of 2030, 2040, 2050, 2060. So we have a wide range of a target, and they're all moving targets. And which one do you shoot first? It's easier.
It's true. How do you perceive, Your Excellency, the shifting geopolitical alliances in the energy sector, especially between the West, China, and the Gulf states? And I'm asking myself, does China get a free pass here? It produces many of the world's solar panels, but in making them, produces huge volumes of polluting emissions through the coal-fired power stations. Are there contradictions there?
It's a complicated one. It's a complicated one because even producing EV cars, even Tesla plant in Texas emits a lot of carbon dioxide in order to produce an EV car which is carbon free. Uh, so even production of batteries is not carbon free. mining of those minerals that are needed are not environmental friendly. So I think, this is a terrible expression, but I like to use it. It's like somebody wants to go to heaven, but you don't want to die because you you cannot go to heaven without facing death first. For those of us who believe the business. So I think this is exactly where we are. And I am sympathetic, unfortunately, with the Chinese methodology. They are supplying the solar panels in order to save the world. But in the process of building those solar panels, their carbon footprints maybe is not desirable. So what's the solution? The solution is difficult. So we have to pay, unfortunately.
That question concludes our interview. On behalf of the Al-Attiyah Foundation, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today and providing our listeners with your valuable and intellectual insights on the energy industry, Oman, and your outlook on the energy world generally. The Foundation very much looks forward to continuing this conversation with you soon. And thank you for listening. A new Al-Attiyah podcast will be released in the coming weeks. But for now, from His Excellency and from me, Stephen Cole, until the next time, goodbye.